Today, we're going to be looking at CSS frameworks, in particular, ones that I enjoy using. I think the value that I bring to these videos is I'm a professional web developer and I've used a lot of CSS frameworks, and I can vouch for specific ones that I really like personally and ones that I didn't. So I thought today we would look and kind of rank and look at different CSS frameworks to use for your next project or to use even with a client or with a professional project. So let's get started. The current darling of the CSS framework world, and it's been this way for well over a year, is Tailwind. Tailwind is a utility-based framework. So what that means is you have specific classes for specific CSS properties. So one thing with this that you'll notice pretty quickly is it does balloon up the markup files, the HTML files, because you're filling them up with CSS properties with each class. So if a component has 30 different CSS properties, you're going to be filling them in with 30 different classes. But why is this so popular right now? It's because everything on the internet, it seems like every type of framework that you're using uses components, which it makes sense, right? You have a button and the button should look the same in one spot as the other. So what we're doing is importing the button to specific other components or pages, and we're just calling that button. So pretty much Tailwind, you set it and forget it. You add the 30 classes or the 20 classes. It might be a large number, but then you don't have to add them again. You can just keep them there in the component. Another big benefit with Tailwind is back-end developers, people that don't normally work with CSS. It is easy to get into building components and sections with CSS because the properties are pretty straightforward. So the class names are pretty straightforward. So a margin on the y-axis is my dash, whatever you want the margin to be, or the padding. If you want padding around the entire component and the entire section, it's just p dash and then whatever the number is. So it is pretty straightforward. It allows for people that aren't necessarily front-end developers to build out components. And yeah, it's very popular right now, probably the most popular in terms of what you see on Twitter and YouTube and within the community. It's super popular. Like I said, it's a lot of people talk about it on Twitter, on YouTube, in GitHub repos. It's in big projects. It's in open source projects. So it seems like it's everywhere. And speaking of seeming like it's everywhere, at one point, Bootstrap was everywhere to the point that you could tell if a site was using Bootstrap or not just by the way it looked. So Bootstrap is a very popular CSS framework, and it uses styles that you come to know and love. Let's go to examples and take a look here. So these types of buttons, these types of sections, this is Bootstrap, and it was super popular, probably still is with a lot of projects, and it's pretty straightforward. You got your Bootstrap colors and buttons and sections. You got the Bootstrap heroes. I think Bootstrap, they're starting to get into utility-based classes. They do have some utility-based classes for things like spacing and margin. Bootstrap's pretty straightforward. It's used by a lot of sites. It does have JavaScript components like the modal and stuff within the JavaScript files. So it makes it easy to use things like modals, but it is not lightweight. You need the JavaScript and you need the CSS. So Bootstrap, still a great option. They have a good documentation site showing examples of different sections, as most of these frameworks do. But I'm of the opinion Bootstrap is very easy to use and get started with, but they do tend to kind of all down the road. You build with Bootstrap and it looks kind of different, but eventually it starts looking like a Bootstrap site. That might not be the case if you have a designer working on a project full time. Maybe they can help cut that down, but that's just what I've seen from my experience. But I don't mind working with Bootstrap. If I'm hired on to do a job for an app and they're using Bootstrap, it's good for me. It's good. I know the framework and it's popular, so there's a lot of documentation. It's good. Bulma, this is my personal favorite CSS framework. It's JavaScript free, so it does not include JavaScript, so that makes it very lightweight. It's very easy to add JavaScript if you need things like modals or drop downs. But out of the box, it does not come with any of that stuff. And I see that as a benefit. You can customize the way things act however you'd like. And it's lightweight and it looks good. I like the way Bulma looks. I like the colors. I like the different sections, the components. These look good to me. These are simple enough where they're kind of minimalist, but they are complex enough where you can add it to a project and build out complexity. So yeah. This is a super good option. I really enjoy Bulma. This might be my personal favorite to use. UI kit. I haven't used this in a while, but this is, I remember this is the first framework that I used that did really cool stuff out of the box at the time with like image carousels and different filtering options. So even now they have cool components that other CSS frameworks don't have, like a countdown, which is really cool. They have dot navs, which is really cool, navigation using just dots. They have a lot of like if you're looking for something that's like quirky and it's got a lot of utility and it looks pretty cool, check out UI Kit. There's a lot of cool stuff here. Lightbox, you don't really see a lot of CSS frameworks that have utility like this out of the box. So like Lightbox is a really cool example. It's going to come with JavaScript. It's going to come with CSS. But from what I remember, it is pretty lightweight. I don't think it's anything super big, and you get a lot of utility for the size, so that's good. Foundation, I've used Foundation a bunch before, particularly their CSS framework with emails. So if you've ever built custom email templates, you know that it's an archaic technology. They are like 10, 20 years behind browsers in terms of what's supported in emails. So if you need to build a custom email template, Foundation has a great option to build custom email templates. Just a quick overview, emails are still built with tables and like gross inline styles and all this gross stuff. Foundation doesn't have an option to build custom templates. And their just CSS framework looks pretty good. It's a good option. I'm not sure why I would pick this over Bulma or Bootstrap. But if you're looking for options and you want to check out their documentation, you can go through and check out kind of their styles. So they got stuff like accordions, which are really nice and work really smooth, and they work differently. They got nice, I remember they do have some nice tables. I mean, maybe table's a table kind of, but it's a good option, but I would definitely recommend it if you're trying to do custom email templates. Pico is a cool one because they lean more towards HTML elements rather than classes. So the way that you build with this is you build out a website with elements and apply the styles to specific elements. So that way you don't have a balloon of like Tailwind, like where you have the markup is like 30 classes for a component. This, you would assign a style for an article, for example, and then that article would have the classes. Now, is this the best way to manage or maintain a site? I think it would be okay for a smaller site, but if it was anything more complex, you probably wouldn't want to use this. You might run into some specificity issues down the line because we're assigning styles for particular elements rather than classes or IDs. So with this one, you want to kind of tread lightly. It does look nice. I do like the way that this looks. Here's a classless example. So this is kind of what it's talking about, where this is not using any classes. It's just within elements. It does look nice. I do like the way that it looks. It is very clean and minimalist. If you do go the classless route, just to be careful, because if it's a project that kind of gets more complex down the road, it's just not going to be good. But it does look nice. If you want a site that looks kind of nice and simple and the colors are nice and I like the text, the font, and I like the sharp edges of the border radius. The colors in light and dark mode look really nice. Check it out. It's a good option. I might use this for a small project and I want it to look nice. All right. So the last one we're going to look at is Materialized. And this is kind of going with Google's material design aesthetic. And it looks nice. And if you're trying to go for like a more appy look and you want it to look like an Android app, this would be the one to get. There's a lot of good options here for color and styling and components. So this is created and designed by Google. Material design is a design language that combines classic principles of successful design along with innovation and technology. So check this out if that's what you're going for. I hope this video was helpful. I feel like with this channel, the value that I can bring is kind of to give you my opinions on different things that I've used in a kind of beginner or intermediate environment for web developer. Just to summarize, if I'm starting a new complex project with other people, I'm going to use Tailwind. If I'm starting a project myself that I want to utilize some styles that I really like, I'll probably use Bulma. And if I join a project and they use Bootstrap, I will be happy, but it won't be my first choice. And then the others that we went over, I feel like have their own unique strength Pico, there's the classless design. UI Kit has these quirky components. Materialized has this Android aesthetic and the Android styling that Google has developed, so it's very strong. Foundation has the great email templating CSS framework. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know down in the comments below if you have a favorite CSS framework, or if I missed one, if I missed talking about one, let me know and I'll check it out. And thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video.